This is great.
Elizabeth Carmel, it's an honor to have you on the show. What a fun topic you're bringing to the show.
Well, thank you. I'm thrilled to be able to talk about something you haven't talked about before.
Isn't it interesting, though, that nobody ever did this before? It seems like you came up with a great idea, and it was one of those where you must have said, how come nobody ever did this, right?
Well, you know what? The truth is, this book grew very organically out of a class that I used to teach in a recreational program to home cooks at the Institute of Culinary Education in New York. And I taught it on Saturday night, and I thought, what's your favorite Saturday night meal? Steak and cake. So I created a class called Steak and Cake. And I have to tell you, one of the other reasons I created it is those are two foods that I never, ever order at a restaurant, but almost everybody else orders at a restaurant because I can usually make a better steak and a better cake at home.
Oh, really? I'm glad you asked the question in New York and not Albuquerque. Otherwise, it might be snake and cake in Albuquerque. Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, you know what? I had to teach where I was living, so. But the truth of the matter is, I could visually see the difference in people and how proud they were of themselves for making steak and making cake.
You are right. Yes.
Really, I mean, they were empowered. I could literally see they were walking taller. They were anxious when they came in, and they were smiles. And they would email me, and I would see them later, and they would tell me everything they were making at home. And I thought, you know what? I have to turn this into a book and share it with the world. So for me, it was never an unusual combination, but I do understand how at first people are like, steak and cake. But you know what? It also has a great ring to it, doesn't it?
It does. Hey, I have a question. From your observations, what is, or where did this whole male macho grill thing come from? How come... How come if there's a grill, there's got to be a guy, but if it's a kitchen stove, it's a woman? How come? What happened? How did that happen?
Well, first of all, that image is fading.
That's right. Yeah.
Which I'm thrilled to say, because I've been promoting girls grilling for almost 19 years. And but I'll tell you why. It's because before the advent of a good gas grill, grilling was all about fire building, and it was messy, and it was,
right.
And so it's like, let the men take out the trash, let the men build the fire. And I'm sorry, that's the truth. I'm very direct. You ask me a question, I give you an answer.
Now, are you married?
I am not married.
You're not? Okay. Well, is there, not to be too personal,
not currently.
But is there a guy
currently.
that fights you for the grill? Do you have a guy who says, I'll do that?
Never. I mean, my entire life. My entire life. I mean, even when I get invited to parties, I'm sitting there enjoying my cocktail, and all of a sudden, the guy comes up and says, "Can you come out and help me?" I'm like, "Sure, I'll help."
I'll help. But there's actually territory when a guy. If I go to a guy's house and he's grilling, I do not. I know better than to say, that's not how I would do it. No, you don't do that. That's like pit bull time right there.
Right. Well, there are those people, but I have to tell you, my very first website was Girls at the Grill, and I was curious to see who was going to be, looking for information on Girls at the Grill, and like I said, I launched that almost 19 years ago, and I couldn't believe it, but 40% of the people that were Girls at the Grill were actually men.
I bet.
I can't imagine that.
Well, two things. It's two things we love, and the if you're dyslexic, they look like the same word.
Some of the most interesting things about your book is that you go beyond the menus. You go to the pairings. You even talk about baking racks in there.
Yes. Well, here's the thing. So Steak and Cake is 35 pairings of steaks and cakes that I think go together. But I also don't want it to be rigid, so I give you other options for, cakes with steak and steaks with cake, because I want you to make whatever brings joy to you and to your table. But you can't be a steak and cake master unless you know the fundamentals. So it was very important to me that I have a steak primer and a cake primer to give you the answers to all of the questions that need to make you a really good baker and a really good steak, cook. And to that end, it was very important to me to create something that I had never seen before. I call it a steak grid, a steak primer grid. And I knew from teaching these classes for so many years that the number one problem is they didn't know what kind of steak to buy. And so I have pictures of all the different kinds of steaks that you can find at the butcher or your grocery store.
Yeah, they're raw.
And then, I also give, I wanted to create flavor tasting notes like you do for wine, but that vocabulary doesn't exist. So I have flavor intensity. So if you are someone who doesn't like something really beefy, then, a filet mignon is for you. If you like it's super beefy, then, like one of my favorite steaks that's not expensive is the flat iron steak, and it comes from the chuck, but it has, a much, it's much more flavorful than, a filet or whatnot. So I give a lot of fundamental information in both, my cake primer and my steak primer.
Do I don't even know what a flat iron is except for the building in New York. I don't even know what that is. What is that?
I knew someone was going to say that.
No, but I mean, I honestly don't know what it is. What is it? Oh, is it an iron, like you iron your clothes with?
Yeah. So it comes from the chuck, the same place that ground chuck comes from for hamburgers.
Yeah.
And it's very, very tender, and it is it's usually cut into 4 12-ounce steaks. So basically, it's from the top blade, and there's a tough piece of sinew running through it, and a butcher will remove that and then divide it into 4 steaks. And it's not expensive. It is super flavorful. It's very lean, and it's a perfect grilled steak. I love it.
I have no education in this whole culinary stuff at all, but I do like cake too. So far we've spent most of our time talking about the steak. What does?
Well, let's talk about cake, because you can't have steak without cake. So what's your favorite? What's your favorite flavor? And I'll pick a steak out for you.
All right, my mom used to make this Easter cake, and it was so good. And it had the coconut and the white frost. I have no idea what it was. I just liked it. It was good. It was probably from a box, I guess. I don't know.
You know what? I have my mother's version of that, and that's actually on the cover. It's my mother's fresh grated coconut cake. So she used fresh.
Oh, you have one on the cover? Yeah.
I do.
I love that.
Yeah. And it has the white fluffy icing. And here's a cake tip for anybody. It's a cooked icing. So any white fluffy icing has to be cooked. And there are 2 things. Number 1, a candy thermometer will be your best friend, because that's when you know that the sugar syrup has cooked long enough so that it'll hold.
You should put that on a T-shirt. A candy thermometer is my best friend.
I could. But then I have another in the primer, my cake primer. A good friend of mine gave me a recipe for Swiss meringue. Swiss meringue is the easiest fluffy icing to make because it's very stable. And the other ones that we all grew up with that are more American, like 7-minute frosting, or the one my mother used and probably your mother used, are a little bit more tricky. So if you're doing it for the first time, look up the Swiss meringue in the primer.
All right. I think we went over time. Boy, you're so much fun, though. Elizabeth, thank you so much. I found girlsatthegrill.com. Yes, that site's still up there. And it's got the book on there.
Oh, yeah. Girlsatthegrill.com, ElizabethCarmel.com. On Instagram, I'm at Elizabeth Carmel, Karmel. Same on Facebook. And then on Twitter, it's Grill Girl.
And
Ooh, nice.
On Amazon, you're number 1, by the way, right now in one of the categories. But thank you so much for being with us, Elizabeth. That was fun.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
That was really good. We'll be right back. This is WOCA Ocala.
Is the internet driving business to your business? Hi, I'm Michael Warren with Brick City Interactive. At Brick City, we've been putting the web to work for businesses since 1998. We want to help you too, whether you're a real estate